Joining me tonight, Florida Democratic Congressman Jared Moskowitz. Congressman, thank you for being with us. Your assessment of the White House's proposal.
Well, I think it's an excellent proposal from President Biden. Obviously, the president has been super clear on where the United States stands on needing to help our friends and allies in Ukraine with Russia invading of that country. And now, obviously, with the horrific attacks in Israel and standing lockstep in Israel, the president's been doing a good job being crystal clear on that. And now coming with that aid package, that support that he's been talking about. So it's a historic package for Israel in a historic moment. Again, the largest amount of Jews killed in a single day since the Holocaust.
Congressman, you were one of many members, both parties, calling on the White House to take a firmer stance against Iran. Right now, the administration has said there's no smoking gun that links Iran to the attack. Can you then explain why, in your view, this is an urgent issue in this crisis?
Well, number one, they're the largest sponsor of terror in the entire world. Number two is they're exploiting this situation right now. So even though perhaps they were only indirectly involved with the usual money they've been giving Hamas for the last decade plus, right, they're trying to incite this by giving Hezbollah, you know, the go-ahead to start doing some attacks here in Israel, not maybe full-scale invasion, but Iran is pushing all of the buttons and moving all of the levers now, trying to incite violence around the world and in the Arab world, in the Muslim world. And so Iran is playing in this global conflict. There is no doubt. And the U.S. needs to step up its efforts by being tougher on sanctions, on the fact that they're selling oil to China, which is funding these terrorist actions, and obviously, you know, with the potential for them to enrich uranium past that 90% mark, which would give them the ability to have a nuclear weapon. And so these are things the United States must be super tough on with Iran.
Congressman, during the president's remarks in Tel Aviv, he talked about the comparison between the Hamas attack on Israel and 9/11 here in the United States. I want to play you a part of what he said.
The scale may be different, but I'm sure those horrors have tapped into some kind of primal feeling in Israel, just like it did and felt in the United States. Shock, pain, rage, an all-consuming rage. But I caution this: while you feel that rage, don't be consumed by it. After 9/11, we were enraged in the United States. While we sought justice and got justice, we also made mistakes.
Congressman, I want your response to the remarks writ large, but specifically that last line that we ended on. While we saw justice and got justice, we also made mistakes.
Well, look, I think the president's giving good advice, trying to explain to Israel that they should be measured and they should be smart and they should be aware of the double standard that Israel has to suffer due to anti-Semitism in the world. And so I think the president is giving them wise advice. But listen, there is not going to be appeasement. There is not going to be a ceasefire, and the president knows this, of course, especially while there's hundreds of hostages in Gaza, 1,300 people slaughtered in Israel, women raped, babies killed, whole families wiped out. I mean, when I was growing up, my grandmother, who escaped the Holocaust as part of the Kindertransport out of Berlin to Germany, would talk to me about things, and it felt like history. It felt like the history books. What happened in Israel wasn't just an event for Israel. It was an event for the Jewish community around the world that reminded us that there are people that still want to fulfill what Hitler tried to do in Germany, which is to remove the Jewish people from Earth. And so this is something that is in our psyche. But I think the president is giving good advice that, look, there's a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. We should allow humanitarian aid in there. There are innocent people in Gaza. We should make sure we're doing everything we can to keep them as safe as possible. But make no mistake about it, the president is well aware that Hamas needs to be eliminated from the Gaza Strip.
Congressman, I have to ask you about the speaker situation, the stakes here. What are the stakes with Congress paralyzed during such a critical time?
Well, look, Jim Jordan apparently likes to continue to take an L. And he'll get another one tomorrow. He'll lose again if he goes for a third ballot. But the stakes couldn't be higher. The Republicans are complete chaos, you know, caused by, you know, Donald Trump and the politics of MAGA that has taken over their entire caucus. Democrats are ready to work on a bipartisan basis to get Congress open, to pass this aid package for Israel and Ukraine, to make sure government can stay open, to make sure we're doing the work of the American people. And so, look, I'm willing to work across the aisle, as we've been saying. We're willing to help throw our friends a lifeline here to get the Republicans out of this chaos. But this is something of their complete making. It's what happens when you let the fringe run the party. Remember that rule that was passed to allow one member to make a motion to vacate. Every single Republican voted for that rule, and every single Democrat voted against it. So this is a manufactured crisis solely by MAGA, but Democrats are ready to help them and bail them out and make sure Congress can work, show our allies that Congress can work, and show our enemies that democracy is still working in the United States.
Congressman, I've got about 30 seconds left, but I do want to ask you, you told my colleague Ryan Nobles that you'd be open to a resolution that would let Congressman McHenry serve as Speaker pro tem to get Congress back to work, sort of vaguely referenced that there. After 2 failed votes for Jim Jordan, I got to know, do you think that's where this is heading?
Listen, I think so. I think there's enough moderate Republicans that realize they got to get it open, and they need more time. Republicans need more time, obviously, to figure this out. So, look, McHenry's a Republican, he'd be a Republican pro tem, a Republican speaker, whatever you want to call him, and eventually they'll elect a new Republican replacement. But right now, we got to get the House open. So I am open to that. Obviously, the devil's in the details. We have to sit down and they have to present that. But I think Democrats en masse are ready to get the House of Representatives working for the people again.
Congressman Jared Moskowitz, thank you so much for your time tonight.